Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it. Today I was able to see the new Jamie Foxx Netflix film, Dayshift, and I'm here to give you my honest, no BS, non-spoiler movie review for you guys today and tell you if it's worth a watch. And again, guys, this is only my personal opinion, so if you guys think differently or if you think the same, let me know your thoughts of the new Netflix film, Dayshift, down in the comment section down below. I read every single comment, the good and the bad, but now let's get into the review. So, we got Dayshift from director J.J. Perry, and this is actually his very first directorial debut. I guess you can only have one, but this is his directorial debut. He's been a stunt guy in the industry for many, many years, since the 80s, but he's worked on films like John Wick, Transformers, Fast and Furious, but this is the first time he's been in the director's chair. And the movie stars Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco, and Snoop Dogg amongst many others, and the story is about a guy working as a pool boy in California, and he needs to make enough money so that his family doesn't leave him, but the pool boy is actually kind of a front for his actual business, which is killing vampires. So is this movie worth a watch today? I'm gonna be honest, because that's what I do with every single video, right? If I was 14 years old, I would say absolutely, this movie's amazing, this movie is awesome, right? I can just see 14-year-old Brandon really enjoying this movie. I would get into the action sequences, he'd be really into the blood and the violence and the over-the-top choreography. He would really love that stuff. But now, 27-year-old Brandon, you know, I can't really recommend this movie. Now, it's not a bad movie by any means, but it's not necessarily a good movie either. And these are the movies that I just don't really like to review because I can just say, it was alright. And that's basically the gist of the review. You go down the filmmaking process. How's the acting? It was okay, you know, it was alright. Jamie Foxx, he's a pretty charismatic dude, so he definitely held the movie together, and anytime that he was on screen, I'm like, okay, I'm just mildly interested because I like Jamie Foxx as an actor, so I'm a Jamie Foxx fan, thumbs up, so I guess the acting was okay. The comedy, you know what, I'll say this though, I can see the characters making jokes. I can see the comedic setups and payoffs happening on screen, but I wasn't laughing. I may have laughed one time in the entire movie, and it's when Snoop Dogg was trying to hit on all the secretaries in the office, no matter what age they were. That was the one moment in the movie where I actually laughed. Every other joke I felt really fell flat, so that was a big problem, I will say. How's the action? Well, I'll say that the action and the choreography is actually pretty good in this movie, because like I said earlier, 14-year-old Brandon would have just loved this movie, and even 27-year-old Brandon would look at the action sequences and go, you know what? That's pretty fun stuff, because you have vampires jumping off the walls, and you see a lot of gunplay, right? Like, so a bullet will fly over to another gun, and then he'll grab it in midair, and you know, it's just kind of fun, over-the-top stuff. There's a pretty fun car chase as well, with a pretty great stunt in there as well. But I just gotta say this though, the drone shots, I've seen it in Ambulance, I've seen it in The Gray Man, and now I've seen it here. I'm not a fan of the drone shots. It just feels very uncinematic, and I gotta say that here. Some people really enjoy the drone shots, so I will admit that, you know, it might just be a personal thing, but I gotta say it, I am not a fan of those drone shots. It makes me feel like I'm gonna hurl. But for the most part, I was mildly entertained by the action sequences. I was like, you know what, even though I don't think it's necessarily, you know, serving the story very much, it's just kind of cool to look at, you know, it was mildly entertaining. How's the story? Well, it's simple enough. You know, this one character who we kind of like because he's played by a charismatic actor needs to get some money because he wants to be with his daughter, he wants to be with his ex-wife, he wants to kind of get the family together. It's a simple enough premise, and it's a simple enough motivation for us to get behind, so again, that part is pretty simple. And overall, this movie is just harmless, right? Like, it's not a terrible movie. I wouldn't say like, oh my god, Dayshift is so bad. You know, I would say that there's only one moment where I cringed, right? It's where Dave Franco was trying to make, you know, some squirrel noises, where he's like, oh my god, I tried to shoot a squirrel with my BB gun and I just couldn't do it, and like the squirrel would make these noises like, and he would just keep going and going, and I'm like, this is just, no. So it's a very mediocre movie, but what sucks about it is that I do think that this movie had potential. Like, there are elements in this movie where I feel like there's a really good movie in here, and there's some things that I wish could be improved or kind of fleshed out a little bit more, or maybe some more focus went into these areas. And now, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I could direct this movie better, or, you know, give the script to me and I can make some changes, but here are just some, you know, spitballing ideas where I'm like, you know what, I feel like the movie is kind of lacking in these areas and could really use some help. Number one is the universe. Okay, so you have a pool boy, that's his front, but he's really a vampire hunter. Totally fine. Great idea. However, I'm thinking, how does this world work? Of course, in Twilight or in any other vampire movie, Interview with a Vampire, right, with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, the rules of the universe are pretty much explained to us, but in this movie, it's kind of like a Men in Black situation where there's kind of this agency that goes after vampires in certain cities, but we don't really know how it works. For the most part, the rules of the universe are just given to us with Dave Franco just shooting out a bunch of jargon, which is really complicated and hard to understand. Oh, this one is an uber vampire, and this one is a half vampire, a mild vampire, whatever the case may be. And then of course you have the boss just shooting out different code 405, rule 607, you violated this part of the handbook. But we don't really know how the entire operation works, and I think a reason for that is because Jamie Foxx was exiled from this union, as opposed to something like Men in Black, where Will Smith's character is brand new to this, so he's a fish out of water, and then Tommy Lee Jones's character basically just explains everything to him and explains everything to the audience. We don't really get that scene in this movie. Number two is that we have this villain, not threatening. I don't understand what she wants, what she needs, and she is trying to do the, you know, I'm so cool stuff. And I'll get into that in a minute. Number three is that Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco have no chemistry. You know, if you're trying to do a whole buddy cop vibe, right, and we're in LA, of course, so this is kind of like a Lethal Weapon kind of thing, right? There's no chemistry between them. And I get it, you know, Jamie Foxx is the cool guy, the hard ass, and Dave Franco is kind of this sissy, right? He has 2 cats at home. Oh my god, you broke my organic gluten-free muffin. Oh my god, I peed my pants. That's kind of a running joke in this movie, that he pees his pants anytime he sees a vampire and he doesn't agree with guns. You know, it's almost like too perfect. It's like, oh, well, this guy loves guns, this guy doesn't like guns, right? It's not terrible, but it's just so cheap. Oh, and by the way, speaking about cheap, the saturation in this movie, you know, it's a Netflix movie, so all the colors are super, super bright. You know, it feels like an Instagram filter. Fourth is that this movie is just trying to be cool. This movie is going, hey, look at us, we're the really cool movie. But it doesn't feel natural, right? Like I was saying, the villain's dialogue felt very trying to be cool. Like one of her first lines is, you know what? You're clinging to the old ways just like a tick to a dog's ass. And I'm like, oh, come on, guys, really? And I mentioned this earlier too, how the action doesn't really serve the story. It's just kind of there to be cool, and it is cool, trust me. So if you guys want to see some just mindless fun action with some pretty good choreography, then I would say that, yeah, this movie definitely has that in spades, and you probably enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed those parts of the movie. But there is one stunt where I'm like, okay, you can just tell that there's no story here. We're just doing this because it looks cool. And you have Jamie Foxx driving his truck, you know, through the viaduct or the man-made river or whatever it's called, right? The T2 chase, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, he's driving along there, and then there's these 2 motorbikes chasing after them. And there's this ramp that doesn't go anywhere. It just goes up, and then it's gonna hit a bridge. Like, you just know that it's going there. And what does the motorbike do? It goes out of its way to go up the ramp to smash into the bridge, and there's a big explosion and all this stuff. You know, cool stunt. But why in the world would you do that? You're chasing this truck. Why would you go out of the way to kill yourself to make it look cool, right? So that's where I'm like, okay, you can tell that this action is not really serving the story. The action scenes are there because we need cool action scenes in a cool vampire movie like this. And speaking about Los Angeles, this movie is an LA movie, right? It starts off with California Love, a remix, so you got some Tupac in there, Dr. Dre, there's an Ice Cube song in there, Snoop Dogg shows up, right? He even yells West Side for life or something like that, right? I don't know how to do the sign. And I'm thinking to myself, how does this actually serve the story? It's totally fine to have your movie in LA. You know, there's certain movies that take place in New York or London, and it's just really rich with all that culture. But how about you tie that in with the vampires, right? Like really make it like, oh, Los Angeles is the home for all vampire hunting, and really kind of work that into the story, because we didn't really get any backstory of how this organization works or what the whole vampire thing is. It's just kind of like, oh, vampires exist in this world. Okay, sure. But I feel like if we had a fish out of water character kind of learning the ropes about that stuff, then I feel like we could have really explored this fun world together. And, you know, you can have all those LA vibes. You can have all those, you know, West Coast California vibes, right? I just don't think that it was really warranted, and it felt like, oh, I'm gonna have it in LA because I like Snoop Dogg and NWA and, you know, all these different artists. And of course Snoop Dogg is in the movie, so maybe that had something to do with it, but I'm not too sure. So for an overall rating, I'm gonna give this movie a 2 out of 5. It's okay. I was mildly entertained. I was not really like, oh my god, I hate this movie. I wasn't like just angry at what I was watching on screen. I was just, you know, kind of straight-faced, laughed once, enjoyed some of the action sequences. Jamie Foxx is good, but, you know, it's just another Netflix movie. It's kind of a take it or leave it. If you think that you will enjoy this movie, if you like those LA vibes, if you like vampires and you like mindless action with a lot of CGI blood, which was a little bit distracting, then maybe give it a watch. But overall, for me, I can't really recommend it. So those are my thoughts on Day Shift. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. If you love this movie, please let me know, and I'm glad you did. I wish I could say the same. Honestly, I'm jealous of you. But if you guys like this video and you want to see more videos just like it, then definitely hit like and subscribe. And I want to say thank you so much to every single person who made it to the end of the video. You are a rock star, but I'll see you guys in the next one. So see you there. Take care. That rhymed. End it. Screw it.